is Claire Tierney, and I'm part of the Booker Theater program. Annie and Blake came in this year to do the Oh Solo Me Oh project with my class. The project is a 10-minute play about our life or whatever we'd want to share with the community. The project started out with them giving us little prompts to kind of like work on what we'd want to write and just giving us ideas. And then we started solo play writing for about like four months, maybe a little bit more. And I can truly say the project was life-changing for me and my whole class. Going into the program and hearing that I'd have to perform a solo play was scary, but in a good way. It was just amazing. With Annie and Blake's whole support, they got my class through and they got me through it, and I truly think my whole entire class will be in debt forever through their support with this project. And all in all, love the solo plays.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Here we are.
Yay!
We are at $12,448
Wow.
combined. That's with matching.
Wow.
That's nice. We still need to make $8,000.
We can do that in a heartbeat.
We can. My heart is beating fast.
Thank you for everyone so far who's supported us in keeping our educational. I know you want to use it as a mirror, but I think you look just fine.
I do, but I've got this shine.
Do I have this little thing right here?
It's morning.
I know. We didn't have the makeup artist come in and shine your face, or unshine your face.
Where was that person?
No, they're always late. But
they obviously got to you because you look
well. Thank you. I look like a young Shirley MacLaine.
You sure
yes.
do. Much younger right now. Right.
But no, again, thank you for those of you who have already been supporting us. This has been fantastic. We love that. We love that you love solo theater. I love that you love that we get to continue it through a new generation of people. And we will talk about that throughout our programming this morning.
We had a great time yesterday.
God, yes.
And we'll have another wonderful time today because we've got some guests coming in.
And I think I want to do this weekly now.
I do too.
Yeah.
Let's have you vote.
Okay. You vote and I vote yes. Okay.
Yes.
This is great.
Yes.
So let's do you have any particular donors you want to talk about?
Yes, I do. Let's get it up here. Well, I want to talk about Daisy because Daisy was one of our intergenerational The Bridge participants. Daisy Martinez de Carlo. She gave us a lovely whopping $100 this morning at 8:00.
Yay!
So she can get up and do that. You all can.
Yay!
And thank you to everyone yesterday who gave so generously. That was incredible. Roxanne Soloway.
Thank you, Roxanne.
That's wonderful. Bill Pat Magrian.
Oh, great. Okay, great.
Right. Caroline Borup, Sonny Smith. Thank you all for
Laura Hartley found out.
Hartley.
Yes, really late last night, which was wonderful.
Right.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about our programming. I want to show you about our first program that we started with our solo synergy. And at the time we were calling it Flying Solo, I believe. Flying Solo was something that we created as a class while we were doing our festivals between our 2 weekends. And it involved solo playwriting, cabaret development, physical theater. And what happened is those people who got their feet wet would raise a hand and say, I think I've got more to write. And we would put them in the festival in a slot called the Flying Solo, where they got to give about good 20 minutes of what they did. And if they felt they were ready and were still developing, would raise a hand and we could put them in the festival with a full, complete thing.
That's right.
Which got us into working with teens in that festival, 3 teens.
Let's talk about what happened there.
Yeah.
We actually found three elders, three folks who were I think they were as 60 plus to 80 plus years old,
right?
And they all did monologues.
And they all had something to say. Yeah,
wonderful. And they were watched by 3 teens that we had found
who did the same
also
thing,
doing 3 monologues that of their own making.
And there was a wonderful thing that happened with those 6 people that got us thinking about really starting something at Booker Middle School with Carrie Mills' wonderful class. She has an intermediate acting class. It's a visual and performing arts center in the middle school. And she invited us to come in. And that idea was spurred by from that period of time of having.
So we brought in about 20
60 plus adults, yeah.
60 plus adults, and with her class of about 20
which were about the ages
children.
of 12 and 13 years old. And they interviewed each other.
They all met each other, and the students actually got to have a chance of deciding who they wanted to work with. And after some meet and greet and getting to know them a little bit. And
some play acting, some theater classes.
It's always kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
It just really works.
They would interview for a while, and then everybody was to go off. Carrie's class, they had to write a monologue, and the monologue was from the point of view, if not playing, well, they had to play the elder. Not necessarily as an old person, but something in their storytelling.
Yes, because some of the stories were from teenage years.
Or when they were 5, you know, whatever spurred them to create a monologue. And then the elders were invited to do the same thing if they wanted to. Or if they were a poet, they could write poetry. Or if they were a musician, they composed a piece based on his interview with a student.
The curious thing we found is that a lot of them had similar stories.
Let's while we're talking, let's just show
some of that first.
That recruiting time.
Good. So this is the classroom at the time. These are the pairings.
And it was fun to be involved on that, to walk around the room and hear the interaction that happened and the mentorship that happened. You would think the elder would be the mentor for the student, which happened, but also it became the other way around. There was such wisdom in these 12 to 13-year-old kids when they were allowed to give voice.
And this is what we talk about. That both groups don't have a voice in this community,
or any community, really,
or any community, and so finally do, and find that they often don't ever talk to somebody from that generation.
Right. The teens were a little nervous about talking to elders that they didn't know. I affectionately call them the elders.
The elders.
And vice versa. The elders were nervous about talking to 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, wondering what they would say. And then they got together. I like that this done with a class, because that was a great model for everything that we do with solo education, is that we don't completely do it alone. You have the safety net of your fellow solo artists.
Right. And we always talk about a safe place to talk about your life, talk about things that you may not have expressed before. We always give both parties a chance to claim whether or not they want something told or not.
Exactly.
And so anything that is finally becoming a monologue is agreed upon.
Right.
By both parties.
And as you can see, we were at the SaraSolo Arts Center for our very first year.
Look at the audience.
I know, having the best time. Well, that was a wonderful collaboration with the Arts Center. And we had a lot. Well, we had 20 adults or more than 20 adults and more than 20 teens. And that was a lot of people to put up on the stage.
Right.
And they would take turns. Usually the teen would do their version of the elder, and the elder would get up and do their version of the teen. Something that enchanted them about that character.
And a big shout out to Hedda Monza Houghton, who was a big part of actually giving us a lot of the elders and working with them ahead of time a bit.
So it really gave us
really helpful.
It gave us the model in which to play, and it was invaluable. And it continues. It continues with, now we call it Solar Synergy.
And specifically the bridge when we go into the middle school.
Yep, that's right. Solar Synergy. So Solar Synergy is now an umbrella of our educational component that deals with the schools.
A bit
Or,
later,
yeah.
a bit later, we're going to talk to a couple of the elders who were involved in the program.
Oh, I don't want that. I thought that was just wonderful.
Carol Wolf, who's also on our board, and also Alan Brasington, and Ed Scully.
Right.
All of whom took part.
Exactly. And so I want to give them a chance to talk because I have a wonderful little video to show you that is a nice little representation of the whole bridge program.
Great. Excellent.
And I stayed in longer, so I learned more. Not much, but still. I was 5. I started. Hi, I'm Jackson Carney. I'm so happy to be part of this project called Gen to Gen. When I first heard that we were doing this, it kind of like widened my brain, and I thought of all the things that I could have my stories shared with everybody in Sarasota through the festival. I got so excited, and I was so happy that I got to write my own monologue based on the person that I was interviewing. Her name is Louise, and she is just so awesome. And this program has been such a joy so far, and I can't wait to write my monologue.
Jackson Carney, and I participated in the first ever SaraSolo project at Booker Middle. I was partnered with someone who was a professional in the field of theater, so it was really cool to get that experience from her. And it's definitely an experience that I will take with me for the rest of my life. And I really hope that, other kids can get that same experience as I did. One thing that was so special about it, especially for me, is that you really got to connect with a different generation that you wouldn't normally get to connect with. And I feel like sitting down for, the many days that we sat down and just talked to each other really opened my eyes to see that, there are so many different generations, and especially generations like us, the younger generation and the older generation, are often ignored, and our stories deserve to be told just like everyone else's. And that was very much highlighted by this experience. So yeah.
I want to live under a spotlight. I belong under a spotlight. When I am standing, or sitting, or kneeling, or lying, or laughing, or even crying under a spotlight, well then, I know I'm home. I'm where I belong. I'm on the stage, and I'm acting. After high school, I'm going to New York to an acting college, and I'm going to study acting. You see, I want to go into the theater when I grow up. Speaking of growing up, I got to play Curly, one of the lost boys, in a production of Peter Pan when I was 9 years old. Remember that great song that has the line, "I won't grow up, I don't want to go to school, just to learn to be a parent and recite a silly rule"? When I was 5 years old, I went to a spring break camp where I played soccer and football and went swimming. I was terrible at sports. I hate sports, and I love theater. I played sports from age 4 to 6, but at age 7, I started auditioning for actual plays at the Venice Theater. So now you know the chronology of my early life. Let's review. From ages 4 to 6, I played sports, but at the magical age of 7, I found the theater, and at age 9, I found myself in Peter Pan. Oh, I have played other roles on stage too. I was Mr. Beaver in a production of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was a medium-sized character. I had 42 lines. That's the show where they put a spotlight on me for the first time ever, and it was very special. One night a guy came up to me and told me that my monologue was fantastic. He said that me and another kid were the best parts of the whole show. I've done some other shows too. I was in My Son, Pinocchio Jr., and I was in Wiley and the Hairy Man. I was the understudy for Ralphie in A Christmas Story. I got to go on for 3 performances, 2 matinees and 1 evening. It was the best experience ever. You know, one of the reasons I started acting is because I was bullied a lot, and I needed theater to get away from the bullying. I can't think of a better way to ignore the bullies than to get on that stage and act. Have I told you that I love doing monologues? They are my favorite. I feel real joy just talking to you about acting and theater. Thank you very much for being a supportive audience. My closing thought is, I hope my joy for theater inspires you to always find your joy. Thank you. Oh, by the way, they call me Jackson.
My name's Anthony Corbedo. I'm in 7th grade, and I love this program. I got to work with an elder, shared a story with them. They made a fabulous monologue. They shared a story with me. I made a monologue about it. It was awesome. I loved how it turned out.
Good. What would you tell somebody who doesn't know anything about this? Would you recommend any middle schooler who does it?
Yeah, I would recommend to do it. If they want to be like an actor when they grow up, like me, this is an opportunity for them to practice, because you won't always have a script to read off of. Sometimes you have to write your own and make your own blocking. And yes.
And how was that, writing your own monologue?
It was inspiring, because I've never done it before, but like write it and perform it. Also, it made me think about other things that I wouldn't normally think about if I was just reading off a normal script, you know?
Excellent. Did you learn anything about people who are a lot older than you that you didn't know before?
Partially. I learned, like, they're more wiser, most definitely, and they have a lot more to offer. Like, if you're just talking to, like, a millennial or, you know.
And did you and Laura have anything in common?
We both like martial arts. We're both loud, but we both talk very differently. She talks a lot slower than I do, has more of an accent.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Alright, so I walk up to the back door to go outside, and my babysitter surprises me with 2 fishing poles. And in my head, I just think of how many minnows I can just scoop up and eat for dinner. All my life, I was living next to a fish fiesta, and I didn't know it. The last thing my mom told me before she left was, "Don't fall into the lake." My babysitter said, "Like that'll never happen." So we're walking to the lake, and I think back on what my mom and babysitter had said. Could I really fall into the lake? People don't fall into the lake on a regular basis, do they? Oh well. So we get to the lake, and I put on some nice green sardine. We get to the lake, and I'm baiting the hook, and I put on this nice green sardine. And if I'm gonna be honest, I really wanted to eat it. Anyways, I reel the hook into about a quarter or half into the lake. And keep in mind, this wasn't a very big lake. So the few times I'm reeling it in, I'm not getting any grabs on my hook. Nothing but a little activity in the water. Right before we just go back inside, I feel a little tug on my hook. I gotta grab. As soon as the fish gets a hold of the hook, it instantly turns into a tug-of-war match. Me versus the fish. The tug-of-war battle continues for a few more minutes. I decide to stand up so I can get a better angle on it. But the fish just kept tugging me closer and closer to the edge of the bank. One last pull, he sent me flying into the lake. Landing in the lake got my pants soaking wet and full of mud. Got my brand new shoes drenched. Fortunately, a kind man was nice enough to help me up out of the water. And my babysitter was too busy screaming her head off. So I'm walking home and I feel my shoes squishing and squeaking. The back door opens. I see my mom's head peek out. She's mad. She sees my demolished wet pants, sneakers, and the horrific mud trail I've dragged in. That's when she snaps. What happened? You know what? I'm done with your foolishness. Get your butt in this house right now, and I mean now. You're grounded for a month. No more Ed Sullivan forever.
I wanted to win this match for him. I glanced around the ring. I wanted to see who my next opponent would be. Ethan, his red hair blazing, swaggered up and stepped into the ring. He was at least a head taller than me. We sparred. He got a few punches in, but I did too. I prepared for my axe kick. I looked for the opportunity, and then, yes, good kick, I thought to myself. I prepared for another kick, but I lost my balance. I saw Ethan's foot coming right for my chest. Oh! Good kick. He got the points. As I was recovering, I saw Ethan getting ready for a spinning heel kick, but I blocked it with my arms. But before I knew it, he was back again and kicked me in the chest again. That was the end of the match. I lost. I saw Ethan coming towards me, his hand outstretched to shake mine. Wow, he's a humble dude. We shook and said, no problem. I walked to the edge of the ring. I looked over the ledge for my mom. There she was. Our eyes locked on one another. She said, cool, honey. And it was cool. I am cool. Yeah.
I don't write words. I write music. And when I first got involved in this, and I said, I don't know, am I going to have to interview a child, and the child's going to get something from me, and what am I going to get from the child? And I was impressed that she wasn't doing this, and that she could speak, and that she was intelligent and thoughtful, and a little edgy. and that really worked for me too. So I wrote, what we've been doing is reflecting on what we've gotten from the kids. So I wrote a jazz song that reflects what I got from Dakota. And the name of the tune is called Dakota. Oh, it works. part that I found really cool was really the going to the rehearsal of the adults about a week ago and watching, taking in how much they had absorbed these children. All right? And I said to myself, well, that's not really a whole lot different from what you did. You just don't do it with words. I can't do anything with words. So, and my family reminds me of that on a regular basis.
So you wrote a music piece of music, didn't
Right.
you?
I wrote something that I felt under the somebody set me up and said, write a jazz tune. So I said, okay. So I wrote something that kind of sort of swings, but mostly reflects and tries to capture the character of this person that I found really fun just to be with. She was very open and she was very clear, and she took enough risks in conversation with an old guy, that allowed me to experience some of the depth of character that she brings to the table. Because most kids, you go, hi, how are you? They go, fine, how are you? And I go, oh God. and this kid didn't give driving home with this glow. I don't have another word.
What would you tell somebody, a stranger, about this program?
I would say there are still some good children out there.
And you discovered that today.
And I was pleasantly surprised.
I think one of the biggest learnings is that we are all more alike than we are different. Whether or not you're 14 or 44 or 94, I think we all have the same emotions, we even have a lot of the same experiences. Just kind of fun. I had a fun thing with my little fella. His name is Antonio. And because my name on my driver's license is Antoinette, my name tag said Antoinette, even though I go by Tony. So my grandparents were Antonio and Antoinette. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my goodness.
It was just a fun way to meet somebody, and there was an instant connection because of that, and then I think from there, it just, even meeting tonight, he said, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, I'm so nervous. I think the age blurs. It really has been interesting to see what happens between us. And just a very wide open, I was delighted with the fellow that I got said to me, I'm very shy and I have a hard time talking to people, but I can talk to you and say anything. That just touched my heart so deeply, and it's just been a very, very rich experience, and I would do it again, certainly.
My name is Ava Kroll, and I'm in 7th grade. Hello, my name is Evelina Rouse, and I'm also in 7th grade.
Excellent. What did you like about the program?
Well, I got to meet someone who I normally wouldn't talk to. I normally talk to people at my own age range, and I also don't really have a chance to talk to other people besides my grandparents. So it was really nice to hear their stories and their side of life, and that they're not just cold and grouchy. They actually have personalities and families and so many fun adventures to share, and that was really special to me.
I liked how I could just meet someone and instantly know everything about them and talk to them right away, and I just had a lot of fun interacting with them.
What's the best part?
That's tough. I mean, writing a monologue was fun, but I think just hearing so many different stories about a person, because I may be fun and bubbly, but I also have parts of my past that aren't as fun and bubbly, so getting to know different sides of a person and really be able to create that bond and friendship was really special for me.
I really liked the interaction and between not just me and my partner, but everyone else. And when they wrote their monologues, they heard the whole story about what happened, but the story that they told, they didn't tell the whole story, and they have that secret between each other that no one else knows.
Would either one of you recommend this to another middle school
Yes.
student?
Absolutely.
Why would that be?
like, I hate to like stereotype every like middle schooler on their phone, but I'll be honest, we're pretty much always on our phone, and being able to meet new people, not just in our own age group, but like people you wouldn't normally talk to, getting to meet someone who's much older than you and grew up in a different time, but them not yelling at you, being like back in my day, but instead like coming together as like someone who doesn't know, who isn't as familiar with this time period, and someone who is, and just coming together to create this wonderful bond of friendship and happiness.
I think I would recommend this to another middle schooler because I feel like everyone has their own like little friend group, and they really don't get out of that group of people. So it kind of opens you up to more people of different ages, and even though you don't like have like you're interacting with your classmates too, not just the adults, and that was fun.
Well, she loves getting up early to go to school. She's made so many new friends. Even one friend from St. Martha's followed her here. His name's Augie, and she's just making so many friends and loving every assignment she's taking on, and she even joined the Junior Thespians, and she didn't have to.
What was it like to see her tonight? To see her do this?
I was in awe. I can't believe how brave she was to get on stage. She loves being on stage. She's very dramatic, and I think she's found herself here. And I think she was stifled at her other schools. She didn't have any outlets, and here she has. She would like to join every art class, you know, but you can only do 2. So she had to choose drama and art, although she should be in musical theater and orchestra. She has so many different talents. And,
would you recommend this to other
Definitely.
kids who want to do
Definitely.
this? So, why?
It's just a very great experience because you get to interact with an older generation than you would usually, because us teenagers usually hang out with teenagers. So it's actually a really good experience to interact with the older generations.
I liked collaborating with like people of different ages because like I said at the beginning of the program, I'm really not exposed to much elders. Like one of my teachers is a little older, maybe like my granny. She lives at home. I live at my home. Other than that, I don't see a lot of people that are wise beyond their years. Wise among their years.
Yeah.
I got those words mixed up. And yeah, I just wanted to see some words of wisdom.
I look at you for Antonia Watson and everyone else. Antonia, I look at you, blanketed in love of parents, sister, grandparents, family. Your future is open as the skies of Montana, where daily memories come wafting on the wings of summer. Antonia, I look at you. Pretty, practical, focused. Know the basics. Stay on your feet. Put education first. Make the beneficial choices. Yes, Antonia, I look at you, practical, focused, and grounded. Grounded in your family, grounded in your heritage. Your great-grandmother Beulah tells you of her great-grandparents, victims of the harsh legacy of African enslavement. Knowing this makes me sad, more sad than angry. And yet, our family survived. We are here. And now, all these generations later, we have to make things better. Yes, Antonia, your family survived and you are here, walking in love and dreaming dreams of things getting better, better communities, a better world, a world where human problems can be solved. Health issues, fuel, global warming. Antonia, you are the promise. Our child, moving forward out of childhood, moving forward toward real responsibility. I look at you, Antonia, singing songs of possibility and love, speaking words of hopefulness and truth. Know your beauty, know your power, and soar, Antonia. Remember the strength and courage of your ancestors, and soar, Antonia. Continue, day by day, to make the beneficial choices, and soar, Antonia, soar into the open skies of your own bright future.
What was it like to, do you spend a lot of time with people who are older like this?
Well, my grandma she's blind and she plays for nursing homes, so when I go to see her, I do. But otherwise, no.
Oh God, so you go to the nursing home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you're used
fun.
to that a little bit too. Did you learn anything from your elder?
That you always have to believe in yourself.
Oh, it's kind of a big thing. That's really great. What's your favorite thing about this whole program?
I think it's learning the stories and their differences, and I really enjoyed that, doing that and hearing that.
And was there, now you had to rehearse it all, but
yeah.
Once you did it last night, did that change anything? How was that different?
Oh, again, it's the equation, the theater, and the audience, one member, that creates it. So it was different because it was actually an audience.
Do you feel different now?
Yeah.
And I've asked before, do you recommend this to any other kids?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
I think we should do it every year.
And why is that?
Because you just get to learn a lot, and it's a very different experience than what we're used to.
Now you're one of the distinct people who doesn't have your elder as part of the performance. Have you been in contact with him since?
I have a little bit, not directly, but indirectly through his friends and family.
Yeah.
It's hard performing without him because I feel like there's a connection that should be reciprocated, so I don't have as much. There's not as much energy going into my performing, knowing that he won't be able to be there and hear it and feel that connection. But I'm still doing it as well as I can without him because I'm so happy that I got to do this, and I hope he feels so much better.
Oh, what did you? What happened that you didn't expect to happen?
We had a very good connection, and I thought that it would be uncomfortable because sometimes people who aren't your age are uncomfortable to talk to because they don't understand your life. But I think it's good that they don't fully understand your life because they lived a different age. They lived your life at a different age, so they have different views on what's good and what's bad, and it helped me because it was like a mentor to look up to.
Was there anything that really connected that you had that was really similar?
We were actually quite different, but opposites attract, and we had a really good connection.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course.
And would you recommend this to?
Yes, of course. I had such a good time, and I think it's a really good opportunity to have an elder have a teenager's point of view and the opposite, because we all live in the same world, but we have different points of views, and to make those come together has such a beautiful connection, and I think that it was a really good opportunity for me, and I definitely recommend it.
I'm Sylvia Alvarez, and I'm in 8th grade.
So, what did you like about this program?
I got to communicate with someone that I never thought I would relate with so much, and that was a senior, and finding all this emotion and letting it all out, and have someone that can relate and kind of help me out through that.
Excellent. Did you learn anything that you didn't expect?
Just kind of communication. And once I got onto the stage and actually performed, I thought I would just freeze, but I didn't. It felt nice.
Tell me more about that. There's part of this program is writing and interviewing and getting to know your elder, but you just said a wonderful thing that happened last night. Was there anything else about last night that changed you at all?
I never thought that I would be able to do that. Like, even at my auditions, when I audition for shows, I freeze, and to perform in front of a bunch of people that I don't know, it felt nice to get it out, and now I know I can do it.
Excellent. Excellent. Would you recommend this to other students your age?
I would.
And why?
Because everyone's different, and if you are to interview someone and you find something in common, it helps you out as a person inside, and it feels nice to get what you are feeling inside out, and to perform in front of a bunch of people and be able to do it makes you feel really good inside.
Thank you so much.
Every little girl has her dream. Being a princess, having a pet unicorn, or being a makeup artist. Not me. I wanted to be an archaeologist. Digging up bones, analyzing them, figuring out what they are. Not every girl's dream. At least it was different. Come on, everyone, let's dig up some bones. If you find anything, tell me. Okay. Sorry. I hit something. Come on. I found one. I want to go mail this to the museum. Come on. Mom, I found a bone. I'm going to write a letter to the museum. I'll be in my room. Okay. Love you too. Okay. Dear museum. Close enough. I hope you find this bone helpful. I hope you find a new animal from it. I found it in an open area near my house. Signed, Carol Wolf. Done. Now to mail it. I need an envelope. Got it. And a stamp. Now to put it all together. And done. Now to mail it. Mom, I'm going outside to mail my letter. Okay. Bone. Now, I wait. A couple days go by, nothing. A couple months later, I figured out that that bone was actually a human bone. Ugh. There's a graveyard that they couldn't build over yet because it hadn't been long enough. So, I gave up that dream as soon as I figured out that bone was human. Now, I work for a company that recruits people like an editor or a salesperson. I mean, At least I don't have a chance of digging up a human bone.
Mom, do you have the camera? Okay. How do I look? Do I look okay? Oh, wait, I forgot to take this. Okay, now remember, this is just a walkthrough. So I've got notes, and I'm going to be reading them, and we can practice, and then we can finish this up. So, you ready? Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, judges. My name is Kyle Patrick Ramone. This is my first audition for America's Got Talent. But if you don't take me, it will not be my last. I'm 12 years old. I was born in SaraSolo, Florida, and I've lived here all my life. I go to Booker Middle School where I'm in the VPA, Visual Performing Arts program. It's just awesome. And a shout out to Miss Mills, who has taught me so much. My biggest passion is musical theater. My goal is to be on Broadway. I have been in about 20 shows in the past 5 years. I've even been in professional shows like Evita, and I was an understudy in Sound of Music where I got to go on 3 times. Even if I'm not on the stage, I really just love watching the actors have fun. I love it so much, it's my happy place. It started when I was 6 years old, and I saw my brother Dylan in a play. I was in 1st grade. He was in Jungle Book. I thought that was really cool, and I knew then that's what I wanted to do. So the next year, I was in a play, and I loved it so much, I just kept going and going and going. Did I tell you that I've been in 20 plays in the last 5 years? 4 plays a year. Yeah, 20. And I dance a little. I take tap lessons, and I take Broadway dance theater lessons, and all kinds of lessons. Sometimes I'm in rehearsal for 3 plays at once. Like last year, I was in Spamalot, the school play, and then I was in the Addams Family, where I played Pugsley. And then I was in Shrek, where I played 5 different characters. My dad says my brother and I are talented because he sang in chorus in middle school. And he teases us when we sing. He goes, la, 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 la. My parents are very supportive, even though they tease us. Like when we were getting in the car and my mom said, I'm going to sing for everybody. And I went like, no! And then we were listening to Lion King, and she didn't know the words, so she started making up words in front of my friends. But she has a great sense of humor. I love my mom. Anyway, when all the shows are going, it's school, homework, rehearsal, homework, and then shower at night, because I'm not a morning person. When things get me down or I get frustrated, like with homework and other things, I just shake it all off, and I start again. I like to listen to Broadway music because sometimes it really speaks to me, and it feels like it's talking just to me, so I listen to it a lot. I'm very outgoing, in case you haven't noticed, and very brave about what everybody says. Even if they say bad things about me, I know it's just their opinion. My other passion is baking and cooking. I make a delicious brownie. For a picnic with my friends, I made a chocolate whipped cream brownie with chocolate chips. It was yummy. I have one in my backpack now, and if you take me, I'll bring them to the show. I also make basic stuff like tacos, eggs for breakfast. You just whip them up and put them in a pan, and I'm great at microwaving. My friend Cora and I bake a lot. Like we made crepes for breakfast with whipped cream and chocolate chips and strawberries and powder on top. We did it from scratch with no help. Okay, just a basic recipe, but we invented all the rest. I got the love for baking by watching my mom make brownies for the holidays. And my great aunt Cora, my great aunt, is such a great cook. I help her make, I help her make dinner sometimes, and I have some of her recipes. She makes the best stuffed shells. They're so good, and she adds cheese and stuff and makes sauce by herself with bacon in it. So, anyway, so that's about me. So for today, for our audition, I'm going to sing a little song, and for the character, the singing chef. I love to bake, I make great cakes. I know I've got just what it takes. You can count on me to sweeten your treats. A little flour, a pinch of salt, and enough chocolate to fill a vault. You can count on me to make your tummy go yum yum. If you like your icing lemon or even watermelon, I will make your sweet tooth shout, hooray, hooray, hooray. I love to bake some tasty crepes to help you forget all your aches and make you laugh when I am in a play, or 2 or 10 or 20. If you're feeling downish, I can be pretty clownish and make you laugh when I'm in a play. I just sang that again. I'll sing a song to make you strong and move all your blues along. You can count on me too. You can count on me too. You can count on me to make your day. I will sing and dance your blues away. I'd like to give a shout out to my mom for videotaping this. Mom, I love you. Thank you so much. I know you love me too, but not as much as I love you. Boom! Right in the gut.
Solo Synergy taught me that a monologue isn't like a report, it's more of acting out when it happened and like where it happened and stuff, and not actually giving facts about the person, and I really like that.
Synergy is awesome. Solo Synergy is amazing. Solo Synergy is mind-opening.
Alex, you won't believe what happened to me the other day. You know Richie, right? Yeah, the one with the small circle glasses. Yeah, him. We were playing around, you know, like kids do, and then we seen this door. We never seen it before. So, we opened the door and we feel it was a basement. So, we went in it, and we seen a whole bunch of creepy statues. It was like they were just following us, left, right, front to back. It was just so weird. Then, we seen these candles. I may have, well, I know, we did like them. And then we were just so interested in them, and all of a sudden, hey, you guys down there, come here. And then this sassy nun drags us out of the basement into the yard. It was so embarrassing. Just when I thought I was gonna get away with it, I was handed a letter at the end of the day saying to bring this back by tomorrow with my dad's signature. Yeah, I know, I was so scared to go home, but I had to. When I got home, my dad was sitting in the same old chair. Handed him the letter without saying a word. Went to my room so quick, cleaned anything, everything. Because maybe if he was mad and he said I was cleaning up something and he came to my room, he wouldn't be as mad. 45 minutes passed, still nothing. So I peeked my head out the door just the slightest bit and seen the paper ripped up on the floor. I asked him, did you read it? He was like, yeah, I read it. It's just so dumb. Pay $5 for each candle. Someone must be off their rocker. They must have their panties in a bunch if they think I'm going to pay them. So I laughed and went to my room. Then, the next day, I came to school. Today, they didn't even ask for the dumb paper back. I wonder if Richie got in trouble. I'm just kidding. I know he did.
Chill, diva. When you see her,
You know she's got a style that fits her best, holding her backpack tied to her chest, walking the halls, drifting to class, thinking who's looking because I'm at my best, and fill in the rest, y'all. Walking, thinking everybody's looking for like those aliens I see in the documentaries. Maybe they look just like Kenny and me. Queen Bee, yeah, that's me, just like a smiling pit bull running free, tripping in this world long after it started. Singing till my mortal self leaves me, won't you be startled? Yeah. Megatons of history, just as much science. Friends to me, helping me solve some mysteries, keep shaping me in each new day. Pushing me in a brand new way, singing my songs as I go along.
Solo synergy.
Solo synergy.
Solo synergy.
Solo synergy. Solo synergy. Solo synergy.
Solo synergy.
Bravo!
Yay!
That was wonderful. It was. So, good evening, everyone. I am Carrie Mills, and I am the theater teacher at Booker Middle School. I'm one half of the leadership team of this amazing program that you've just witnessed, The Bridge. I'd like to introduce my partners, Annie and Blake. Annie and Blake, give a little wave. So good to see you. Go ahead and introduce yourself now, too.
I'm Ann Morrison. I am co-founder and artistic director of SaraSolo Productions and educational specialist for Solo Synergy.
And I'm Blake Walton, the co-founder and director of SaraSolo Productions. And I got to be a participant through this as well, as well as a facilitator. So,
okay. Karen, do you remember when we started this whole process, you decided would it be fun to have a one-word check-in? Tell us about that. Maybe we should do that tonight now that we're ending.
Sure. So the way that we started off our first meeting was everybody got to say a one-word check-in describing how they were feeling. And there weren't any right answers and there weren't any wrong answers. It was sometimes the first thing that came to your mind. And so we're going to do a one-word check-in tonight that for you kind of describes the entire experience. So I'm going to call on people because you're in a specific order on my screen. And then go ahead and unmute yourself to share your check-in and then mute yourself afterwards. Zoom is a wonderful place to live, isn't it? So here we go. So Cynthia,
yes.
Can you tell us one word that kind of sums up your whole experience with this project?
Wild.
I love it. And Lizzie, what about you?
I'm going to cheat and say two words. Hyphenated.
learning curve.
Oh, yes.
Good. So, Carol, go ahead and share your one-word check-in about the entire experience.
Enlightening.
Lightning, great.
Enlightening, yes.
Great. And her partner was Maddie. So, Maddie, go ahead and share your word.
We'll go with awesome.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. Sanaya, you're up next.
Well, this is big. Victorious, because I did things I didn't think I could do.
I love that word. That's great. Aubrey, you're coming up next because you and Sanaya were partners.
It changed the way how I saw things, I guess.
So can you sum that up in one word?
No.
That's okay. So I think this experience is so gigantic that sometimes one word doesn't do it justice. Okay. Ariana, you're up next.
Exciting.
Exciting. And Blake was Ariana's partner. So Blake, you get to go next.
Glowing, because that's the way my heart felt through this.
Wonderful. Neil, coming to you.
My word is sweet.
Wonderful. Sandra.
Cool. It was very cool.
Cool. Great. Julian.
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful? Is that what you said? Beautiful. Bob.
Sharing.
Say that again. Sharing?
Sharing.
Wonderful.
Sharing life's experiences.
I love it. I love it. Kaniko, your turn.
Inspiring.
Inspiring. I love it. Amari, go ahead.
Swag.
Fantastic. Darshay, you're up next, sweetie.
Very fun.
Very fun. Alan, how about you?
Galvanized.
Cool. JL.
It was funny.
I think that's great. It's one of my favorite things, the funny things that we find during this whole project. Dennis?
That was delightful.
Delightful. Carly?
Playful.
Playful. Kenny?
Joyful.
Joyful. Annie, you get to share your word as well.
Heartwarming.
Heartwarming.
And what's your word, Carrie?
My word, I think, gosh, there are so many words, but I'm actually going to go with my word that's my word for the year, which is actually bliss, because it really, truly was very, very blissful.
Very cool.
So Annie Blake, take it away.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and not everybody has to answer, but does anyone want to share what was their expectation when they started? What was your expectation when we began this whole thing? Does anyone, okay, Carly.
I really wanted to know about younger people because I don't have any with me.
Okay. Any one of the students, what was your expectation? Oh, go ahead, Bob.
What it was like to be 12 years old again.
Yeah. And oh yes, Kenny.
What it felt like to be in the older days.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny. I like it because he wanted to know about the older days.
Yes.
This is wonderful. I want to know what it's like in the older days. We had you got to see a large portion of what happens with the middle school, and we were saying before, but I forgot to take the mic off, that
That's right.
that particular group that you saw earlier, where they were on stage, was a lot of the first year, and I was quite amazed at how profound they were. We noticed that when COVID happened and we had to go in the classroom through Zoom, and then they came back out again, it was different. Those kids are going to take a while to get back to being social again. Don't you feel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it stifled them.
The thing about the bridge, especially, is that it's about interaction, and there was a muting of a lot of ideas and connection between the elder population and the students. So that reminds us that it's essential.
Right.
And I think coming out of COVID, we might even have more and more wonderful interactions because of that.
Right.
So people are waking up and
Right.
it's like springtime.
So thank you for donating. And if you haven't had a chance to donate yet, please do, because we want to be able to continue these programs. Let's talk a little bit about the high school.
Shall we?
Yeah, we're at Booker High in their Visual and Performing Arts Center.
we have
Someone's coming
Ed
in.
Scully's here.
Ed Scully,
So
come
let's
on
see-
in. Let's talk a little bit about the program. Ed Scully is on our board, and he's just happened to pop in for the day. Come on in, Ed. Come and join us.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
This is Ed Scully, everybody.
I am sitting in the.
You're sitting in the bleachers.
I have everything but my dunce cap on.
Yep.
Okay, but-
You remember this?
Yes.
Does it bring back
Yeah,
everything?
it does. It does.
Especially about middle or junior high.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Ed has been supporting us as a board member in everything we're doing for many years, and also took part in the latest The Bridge. What was that like for you to go into the classroom and actually be with these?
It's one thing to be
kids?
on stage. It's another thing to be given a task to derive some of the characteristics out of your, I don't want to say the opposing member, but I had a 7th grader the last year, the last time I appeared, and I had maybe a 5th grader or 6th grader the time before who'd had many challenges in life, some of which she was unaware. So you get down and you integrate. In this particular case, the latter case, this kid had a fine demeanor about him, and he did a lot of walking.
Right.
So I got off easy. I did the John Wayne walk. I did the Hercule Poirot walk, and I did the what the heck was the last one? John Wayne, Hercule Poirot, and the Mummy.
The Mummy.
All right.
I slouched along. I was
Right.
worried that the ADA might get after me for affecting a limp. And it occurred to me after the that I just missed out on Walter Brenton. I could have done Walter
shoot.
Brennan and gone, Mr. Johnston, you was wrong. You did wrong.
For those of us who are of an age, we know something about the real McCoys.
I had an issue with wardrobe because they gave me something that they said was a fedora and it looked more like a chili pot turned upside down.
That's right.
But I
Hey,
worked through it.
You worked through it and you made it
You
work.
have to
Yeah.
you have to be careful with that wardrobe.
And we were just about ready to show them the kinds of things that we discuss when we're with the Booker High School kids in their program. And I'm going to pull that up for all of us to look at. It's this, and you might want to enjoy this. We talk about different types of solo theater in the Booker High School. This is junior class that is facilitated. The classroom is facilitated by Sunny D. Smith, and she's quite an equal with her love of solo theater, and it's been very instrumental in really pushing them forward. It's become part of their curriculum now.
It is. She initially was just taking the junior class and the sophomore class, I think, and now she's got all four 4 years.
Yep.
And so she's our classroom teacher.
Right. So we talk about solo plays. One of the things that we talk about, which would be a monologist, and we're very good at, I don't know if we're good about it, but we would like them to be talking about the personal stuff to start with, or it could be people in their lives. So they really have to dive into themselves. So we have to spend some time talking about solo plays and monologists and what have you. And then we start talking about, it could be autobiographical. Mostly with our high school students, that's exactly what it is. They delve into themselves. We will spend some time talking about solo plays that are biographical. So it may be about a particular person in history, or it could be a biographical person in their own life. Perhaps maybe the whole thing is about their father. We then talk about story theater. I want to talk a little bit about what story theater is.
Story theater is, in fact, you see the picture right now. This is a play that Annie did called Linda Lovely Goes to Broadway, and I directed it with story theater style, it's full of a lot of circular movement, and it's not realistic in that you don't have a set where somebody walks into a door. You've got a narrator who's very, very important throughout the whole thing, and the narrator will often morph into other characters. But it's there's an arc to it. It's a great storytelling.
Right. Opposed to spoken word. Spoken word is poetry. And it's pretty much not going into storytelling. It's each individual piece of their spoken word is poetic, and quite fun. A lot of the students like to explore their poetry through this form. I love this word. This is monologue, which is a little bit different from a person telling a story and they morph into a character. In a monologue, each little monologue is its own unique character in itself. So they might have a larger arc of a story, like maybe their neighborhood, but each little monologue is maybe a particular character, not necessarily morphing into it. That is a complete little monologue in a larger piece.
It's hard even to find the accent on that word, right?
Yeah. Monologue. I love that. Monologue all the day.
Monopoly.
Cabaret. When we talk about cabaret, we're talking about a solo artist, a solo cabaret artist who will tell their story or a story through the setting of pattern that leads into a song. And so the arc is in that pattern, opposed to maybe something that's musical theater oriented, which is their story is more art all the way through, and they're choosing pieces of music, just like in a musical, that heightens the emotional life of their storytelling. Where a cabaret, each little piece can be more separate. You know what I mean?
And yes, but in your realm, musical and cabaret are kind of the same thing.
Yeah, very much of a blur.
Because you believe that cabaret is a mini musical.
Yeah.
It has a book to it. So yeah,
it's intimate too.
It's intimate. Yeah,
that's true.
We like to teach physical theater. They might want to tell their story through movement. Maybe it's dance. Maybe it's mime. Maybe it's circus art. We've had a lot of people in our solo festivals who are experts at that, but it's fun to watch the students pick up on that and be able to mix things. I mean, they might mix their spoken word with dance or circus art.
And then we have stand-up comedy. We all understand that sometimes stand-up can be a 70-minute piece with an arc, and you find a lot of stand-up comics will give you what we call a MacGuffin in the early part of it, that is a clue to something that they're going to return to later. It may be on one theme, but that's how we see stand-up comedy as a solo play.
And then there's performance art, which is beautiful. It's a kind of a mixture of just about everything there. It uses multimedia. It uses visual art. It can use music, poetry, the whole gamut put together. And quite a few students love to combine all those things, and it'd be more in form of performance art.
And toy theater is very specialized. It's rarefied because it's not done a lot, but it is married to puppetry also. In this particular, what we're showing here is a piece that's done with toys basically, and small sets and puppetry, but it's a very special kind of thing, and I would put it in puppetry.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Mr. Bill on Saturday Night Live.
Well, just like Mr. Bill.
In fact,
we have someone else who joined us today.
Carol,
look, Carol, come on, Carol. Carol,
I can be on the side.
I'll pull over a little bit. Yeah, we
We
go.
all are. I love this. This is a group.
This is Carol Wolf, who's also on our board.
Yes, Carol Wolf, who's been involved in so many other ways, and both Carol and Ed were involved as elders in our the Bridge program.
Despite our ages, we decided we would pretend we were elders.
Yeah, and everybody just got to.
We've all
everybody
had to do that.
Everybody just got to see you, Carol. We got to see you with Kyle, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
And
they
now,
did just-
now we have to add to that video. We have to add Ed into it because his monologue was so delightfully fun, and his student as well.
Thank God I came up with something, because it's a real challenge, and you can't cheat because the whole world is looking at you and your opposite number, and it's challenging. you don't want to miss that opportunity. Everyone's on the so-called journey, and some people call it a hero's journey. And you have to acknowledge that there's something heroic about it, even though it seems very mundane.
Oh, I think doing solo theater is one of the most terrifying things you can do. Isn't it true that they say that the number one fear in the United States is speaking in front of an audience?
The number one fear is probably death. But
No, speaking in front of people.
The second fear is death.
Second fear in America. Number one fear is speaking in front of people. So, and so that's one thing, but to be able to stand in front of people and be vulnerable.
Good. Carol, we saw, actually, you've been involved a couple different times, and one of them was virtual. Can you talk on the difference between, we know the obvious things about meeting with somebody face to face, but can you talk on that difference between those two times?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you meet somebody, you get a vibe from them that you cannot get that virtually. But you can do pretty well. I mean, I was talking with Maddie, and she was outside the school, sitting on the ground. So I got to see her physicality and, chatting that way. So I got to feel like I had a little sense of her, and also in her room.
Right.
Yeah, because during COVID, and when we did mostly virtual, we did have a chance for some of the elders to come into this classroom actually and meet at some point. But it was rare.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's keep our fingers crossed, everybody, that this fall we don't have to these issues anymore. We need to all be healthy and move forward.
Yeah, and I got lucky because Maddie was into gaming,
Yes.
video gaming.
That was perfect.
Which
it was so perfect.
I'm clueless.
Yeah.
Video
Me
gaming.
too.
So I said, I think I'll write a little something about her. And
Oh, it's hilarious.
No. You're going to do the gaming thing.
Yeah.
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I started to investigate Minecraft.
Yeah.
And thankful that I had a son and daughter-in-law who had a huge, TV screen. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Jason. Hi, Sam. Hi, Spencer. Hi, Giannis. Hi, Beth. And Ian. Don't forget Ian. And so they set me up in front of the screen, and I, started to work with the gizmo. Technical term that the kids use. So I got to know it, a little bit, which shocked my grandsons, and was terrifying because I had no idea what I was doing. But Maddie, if you do your research and you're lucky enough to do it, Maddie had a YouTube channel.
That's right, she did.
I was able to listen to her and pick up how this very quiet, sweet young girl was going, I'm going to get him, kill him.
Yes.
So I got to see a whole different Maddie.
I know, isn't that great?
So there were some really, I mean, there were some good things about COVID and the fact that we had to be virtual and had to film stuff because it was so appropriate to that piece,
right,
for you to actually be on a laptop, and to be playing a game at the same time.
Well, let's go back into the Booker High School. I'm going to let them talk for a little bit. I've got a video here I'd like to show you, and I think you'll enjoy excerpts of our high school students exploring solo theater.
Hi, I'm Scott Keys, and I teach theater at Booker Visual and Performing Arts High School. And I just want to talk a little bit about SaraSynergy and the great work that Annie Morrison and Blake Walton and all of the SaraSolo people have done with our juniors the last couple of years in giving them a chance to create these solo pieces. It's so great that these kids get a chance to invest in their own life as being a piece of theater, to take stories from their own life and create a work. it gives them a confidence and a sense of self that is just really, really incredible and so good for them as young artists.
One of the things that these solo pieces do for our students when they're working on them, they get to investigate their own life and delve into what makes them tick as a person. Stories of their own life that they mold into some sort of a one-person theatrical story. And it brings them such a sense of self and self-esteem in doing this. They become a star of their own life, so to speak. The other great part is as they head off to college, so many colleges want what they either call a wild card video or even essays. And from doing this project, with both from playwriting and from performing them, they have material as they're going into college to find that unique profile piece that they can send off to colleges. And it just really makes them stand out, I think, with colleges, universities. The SaraSynergy project for our students really helps them find their own voice, who they are. We train the students in how to audition for roles, how to sing, how to work on audition pieces, monologues, and to perform other roles. But when they are able to take their own life story and create a dramatic work, whether it be humorous, whether it be heartfelt or homespun, they just find a real sense of who they are and where they fit in this ongoing world of theater and acting. Such great experience for them to be able to spend time with themselves, their own thoughts, and translate that into a performance art piece.
But even though we are all doing the same exact thing, the process of getting there is different.
Something that really helped me with my script writing is I'm a person who builds up other people. So if you say something out in the audience, I'll respond to you. So I made my piece very like interactive with the audience, not in a sense where I was like, oh, what's your favorite cake? I would just say something that I didn't even realize it was funny. I would say something about my dad. Like, I think a good example was I said something about my dad. And I said something about him working in a retirement home. And they were like, oh, that's kind of funny. And I was like, yeah, because he's old. And he's going to be in there someday. And then it was like, oh, that is so uncomfortable. Like, oh, are we supposed to laugh right now? Like, and I was like, yes, you can laugh. It's okay. And then my dad stood up and did a little funny little thing. All right, do you? Okay, fine.
All right, Andre.
Jesus.
Solo Synergy is an enlightening program that brings students not only performance skills, but also life skills. Confidence, communication, and the ability to express are just a few that I gained and am so thankful for.
SaraSolo has taught me patience by having me drive alongside snowbirds. Oh, Sharon's calling. I'm eating my orange. All right, I'm just gonna swerve carelessly, not thinking about anyone else, still opening my orange. It's fine, Floridians don't care. Sorry, Nancy, I'll call you later.
I have a panic disorder. I can feel my throat closing, and my eyes growing green, shaking and spinning.
I toss and turn in my broken bed, side to side, over and over, and I still can't find my body to be comfortable in the tight skin that I am in. My skin is too tight. My skin is too tight for my body. My body is too small for my mind. My mind is way too much for this earth. It seems like I am floating in a galaxy's black hole and I can't ground myself. I try to swim out of the black because I keep finding myself, and eventually I'll splash into the blue and I'll feel free. I'm trapped, concealed down at the bottom of the well. I'm in prison, solitary, inside, tied up in a straitjacket with electrotherapy, hitting, zapping, and burning my nervous system, causing me to lay with no control of my body and a straight stream of paralysis. And I'm tied down so tightly, and I can't breathe at all. I've lost all my oxygen supply. I look down to see my feet off the ground, and I'm levitating. I feel like the devil himself has a hold on me, and he won't let go of me no matter how hard I scream at the top of my lungs.
And before I get to this next part, I want you all to observe me. I know we have spent probably a couple 6 minutes, but just take me in a little bit. Sorry, I didn't even know that you guys were there. Now, that was getting a little bit weird for my liking, so let's continue with the story. So this man asks me, you know what music is? I said, you know what? As a matter of fact, I do. And he said, you know that Kanye guy? I said, well, yes, of course. Then he said, you look just like him. Are you two related in any way? And I said, well, yes. We were twins who were separated at birth. And then slowly drove away, rolling my window up, leaving that man in absolute shock. And on that note, I think it's time to pull out the tearjerkers. Specifically for you, Mom. If you're not crying already, you're not my real mom. And Dad, I would expect you to cry too, but I don't think in the 17 years of me living you have ever cried, so I'll let it slide. Now, I've noticed that there are a couple of parallels between my relationship with my father and California. That even though they are thousands of miles away and not always with me, my love for them will never fade away. If anything, the more time I spend away from them, the stronger my love grows. So thank you, California. And Dad, everyone turn and face the bald, short man. Not gonna lie, I'm completely and utterly surprised that you actually showed up. So thank you. And I love you, Dad. That's not written in the script.
I'm so in my own fucking head, I can't take it sometimes. This is when the insecurity kicks in. This is where my fantasy turns into a nightmare. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Kinda flat. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. That was pitchy. In other words, told my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. What the fuck are you doing with your hands? Fill my heart with song, let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship. Stop looking down, idiot. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. I can't do it. I can't take it anymore. I'm done. like I said, in my own head a lot.
Solo Synergy was an opportunity for me to realize that every story in my life has purpose. If I just pay attention and really focus on it, everyone can learn from everyone. So everyone really does have a story. Thank you, Annie and Blake.
Y-U-N. Yun. It means cloud in the Chinese language, and it's also my middle name. At the beginning of the year, I told most of you I hated my middle name and that you would never know it. As of 30 seconds ago, 4 people in my life knew my middle name, and now we're here. My middle name is part of my heritage and my life, but it also caused me so much pain. From the very beginning of my life, I was never wanted. I mean, I'm literally adopted. One man's trash was another man's treasure, I guess. Come on, look at me. When someone didn't want me, they placed me in the donate pile for those in need. Those in need were my parents. They are both wonderful, creative, beautiful people, and they're also white. I am anything but white. When I looked at my parents when I was younger, I didn't see a different race or ethnicity, I just saw my parents. Growing up, they weren't white, they were just mom and dad. As great as it was to be oblivious to the existence of race, all fairy tales must come to an end, and we must face the real world. My real world consisted of private school. And I know on Sundays some people went to praise the Lord, but I pretty much went to hell to study Mandarin. That didn't really work out for me. But Sundays were the only days of the week where I got to be around people that looked like me. I guess that's probably why my parents wanted me to keep learning how to speak statistically the hardest language, even at the age of 4. Even with all the culture, the language, the food, the clothing, right down to the hooded eyes, it still wasn't clicking. Now, being a Jewish Asian doesn't really earn you a lot of playground cred in elementary school. No friends for me. What a shocker. Like learning about the terracotta warriors. Once we were shown pictures of the warriors and all heads turned towards me.
Through Annie and Blake's mentoring, I have been able to improve as an artist through Solo Synergy.
I'm very thankful for Annie and Blake for including us in Solo Synergy so we're able to express our thoughts and feelings through performance.
What I gained from Solo Synergy was a new love for poetry and writing things like that to inspire me.
I enjoyed making my solo play with Solo Synergy because it taught me a new form of self-expression.
Solo Synergy was an opportunity for me to realize that every story in my life has purpose. If I just pay attention and really focus on it, everyone can learn from everyone. So everyone really does have a story. Thank you, Annie and Blake.
January 25th, Monday. I was just body checking in the mirror and I got new gym clothes. At first I thought they fit my body really well and made me look really good. But after staring for a bit longer, it became very clear that I put on weight. Seeing it made me petrified. Even though my mom just called me petite, even though I went to the gym today, even though the gym clothes made me feel good, I just had a wave of panic course through my body. Lately, fitness has been very fun. In the past 2 weeks have been really good, and I appreciate my body, but right now, I'm scared to go back and check in the mirror. I need to go back to school, and this is way too much pressure on myself. I look completely fine, even if I am a little heavier. Even if I gained a few pounds during the month, I feel good, and that is what should matter. My friends still love me. I'm still the most hilarious girl. I am loved. I don't need a six-pack. I'm getting stronger and faster every day. Even my friends think I'm still totally ripped. Isn't that enough?
I get validation from absolutely fucking everywhere but myself. My goal this week is to change how I talk to myself. Even if my waist isn't as tiny or if my arms aren't slimmer and toned, I am worth happiness. I deserve love. I'm a good person. Lifting weights doesn't determine whether I am worthy or not. Lifting weights doesn't determine whether I'm worthy or not.
Welcome to today's 30-minute HIIT workout.
Today we're going to shred you up.
Today's workout is going to be a ton of fun.
With no repeats.
It's just 10 minutes, but it's going to be intense.
All right, you ready to warm up?
Ready to go.
All right, so
let's go. Booty back and down with a jog in place. All you have to do, you guys ready?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's start with our 30 seconds of gorilla burpees in about 10 seconds. Here we go.
Drive up. Breathe. Make sure you breathe throughout.
Give me a couple more. You can do 3 more, maybe even 10 more.
If you've never been fit, you never will be fit.
Have your abs, they're there. Everyone has six packs. It's just revealing them, right? Getting that layer off the top.
If you're trying to lose weight, being more active is a great start.
You knew what you were doing when you clicked on a workout that said intense, so you came to work.
If you've never been fit, you never will be fit.
All right.
Annabelle.
we have someone we're adding in right now, and it's Jan Wallace.
Hey, Jan.
How
Hi there.
you doing?
How great to see you all.
Yeah.
Shirley Valentine, yes.
Were you able to see what we were just watching?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was exhausted watching that last one.
Annabelle is, she came to us with an idea that it's called Fit Girl, and it's an idea that especially teens who are 17 are exposed to all these bodies online and what's expected of them, and no matter who you are. And she developed a kind of a condition where she had to, in fact, both of our teens that we worked with the solo have body issues. And that's what that was all about. It's kind of remarkable, but they tell the truth, so it's really neat. Jan, you did a remarkable thing with us with SaraSolo. That was your experience of doing Shirley Valentine, and yet you brought your personal experience to it. So it wasn't doing Shirley Valentine, but what did we call it? It was
called Shirley and Me.
Shirley and Me, because it was. I should let you tell this, but it was your how the character Shirley Valentine so impacted you after doing it for so long.
Well, I should also tell you how I came to write that show, because you might remember I'd done a flying solo before that.
That's right.
And I'd written a show about my husband and how he died. And it was, just a lovely piece. And you wanted me to do more. And I said, but he's dead. I mean, what else am I?
The story's done.
Yeah. Sorry. So I was in New York at the time, and I was walking the streets as I do, and as I always done when I walk in New York, I always run.
It wasn't a street walker. I was walking the street.
No, I was just walking in the streets. And as I always do when I'm in New York, I always do Shirley Valentine lines. It gets me from A to B, and I can do those lines until I die. So, I was doing these lines, and I just had this email from you to say, we want more. And I'm thinking, shit, what am I supposed to do? And then I thought, I sort of started thinking about how I had been Shirley Valentine and all the similarities in her life or in my life that were in her life. And I thought, I could write a play about her and me and how similar we are in so many ways. And so that's how it started, because I walking the streets in New York.
And Jen recognizes the Flying Solo. That's a program we haven't talked about today yet. It was something we did as part of our workshop week in between workshop. And
yeah, it was our
that was meant as a
called it the Betwixt week, didn't we?
Betwixt and between. Yeah, because the festival was between two things.
And that was theater. It was solo development.
Right.
And that's a precursor.
We always wanted to have a retreat down here,
right,
for solo artists to come and explore. And but we didn't have a place, but we didn't want to wait, so we started
now we
right
have
away.
officially we have something called the Solo, which comes from exactly Flying Solo.
And we'll talk a little bit about that too.
So it's wonderful to be reminded of that, Jan. Thank you. That we were spurring you on, and then you created this beautiful piece. It was just gorgeous.
Nice.
But it was funny because when the program came out, who was in those days we did 2 weekends, 3 or 4 shows a day. And I was the last show. And I thought, wow. And then I looked again and I thought, it's the fucking Super Bowl.
And there's a reason we do that. We had the second week or the first week in February. It was always our second weekend. But we very smartly always got a local.
Whose friends
friends
weren't interested in football either. We had a full house.
We had a full house because we always could guarantee that.
Yeah.
Because all those theater folk
don't go to see a football.
That's a different kind of drama. We don't need that. So here it is. So it was incredible. It was a gigantic. It was full house and clamoring.
And so, what became of that? So many people who saw me do that said, "Wouldn't you do Shirley Valentine again?"
Yes.
And so, I'd asked Jeffrey at the Jeffrey Kin if I could do it at the Players, which I did. And then a year later, I had got a call from Rick Kirby at Manatee. I had done a show there a few months before, and I'd asked him whether he'd ever be interested in this. And he said, well, our season's full, maybe one day. So he called me, he said, how long would it take you to put your show up? I said, 2 weeks. And it was they were supposed to be doing the show that Linda McCluggagh had written about the Down syndrome boy, and he got sick. I think he got chickenpox or something. They had to cancel that show. they put mine in. So I literally had 2 weeks to put it together again. And so I got another opportunity. So.
I know. We love that. We love that. I think, great. We have someone else I want to bring in. It's our wonderful Roxanne Fay. Hi.
Roxanne. Great.
Hi, guys.
Roxanne is also an alum and has come 2 years. What were your years? Was it 16, 17?
I did
the
first year.
Was this first year?
Yes.
Why do I think she was 2 years?
Roxanne was in the space that we were just talking about, Roxanne, that last Sunday, the Super Bowl Sunday. And Roxanne was the last show in our first year.
Yes, the last show in the first year. I didn't have the Super Bowl to contend with, Jan, but I did have the Tony Awards.
That's right.
Yeah, because we were the last 2
Did you get one, Roxanne?
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why we moved that.
This is such an interesting thing about live theater. Someone told me, I would so love to see your show, but I have a ticket to go to the movie theater and watch the Tonys. And I thought, okay.
Okay. All right. I'll go to the movie theater to watch the Tonys.
She said to me, but you can do the show again, right?
I love it. Roxanne presented the Book of Mary, which is a full play. She got the rights to do it. It was a play that was done on Broadway prior, and so the two of you had very different experiences of that too.
I should just say, though, if I may, that was my very favorite SaraSolo play ever. It moved me. It moved me so much. I talk about, and when I saw I was going to be on with you, I was like, oh, I told you at the time, but I just thought it was truly, truly amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
But Roxanne is also a brilliant writer too.
Yeah.
And her most recent piece for me solo is all about Lady Macbeth, the real Lady Macbeth.
Ooh.
And I so want her to bring it back to Sarasota because she only did it over at Urbanite for what was it? Only one night.
We did one night during their Modern Play Festival. Yeah.
Right. And it is probably my most favorite piece of hers ever. I mean, she really, it's just an incredible piece of theater. So we've got to find a way to be able to present that down here in Sarasota
this also
again.
speaks to our collaborations, and we haven't talked about this, Roxanne, but Roxanne is with Job Site Theater up in Tampa.
An amazingly wonderful piece of theater. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, please don't miss Job Site.
And also, if you are listening to this right now, you must donate to Job Site. Because they do incredible things. Roxanne, you talked about, especially during COVID, you discovered ways to film, especially Shakespeare. And I have to say that you did, Job Site did an incredible job with that.
You really took the challenge and figured a way to keep going where a lot of theaters got crippled and couldn't do anything.
Right.
So kudos
that's
to that.
And they are vital and working. And we might have some collaborations with them as we are talking more and more as we are evolving to doing more theater development. We're doing solo play development with The Solo, our new kind of our new development brand. The end result of that is that people actually perform, and we bring them from seed to the stage. And so the venue is the next step.
A little bit later today, before we close out, I'll show a little bit of Angela Bond, who came out of the solo from the summer. She had a germ of an idea. She wanted her butt kicked. She came in, did the solo for a weekend. We had another follow-up because she needed all those 6 people needed another kick in the butt. And she realized by the end of that workshop, she had her piece. And so we were going to do our last and final SaraSolo Festival because we wanted to switch to total development and then present that person when they're ready. She was a part of that, and it was spectacular to watch that whole process of development. So a little bit later today, I'll show you that video.
Yeah, I'm really pleased because Angela, had to take a pause really in her own life.
Exactly.
For her family. And yeah, I think it was.
It would be great if we could get her to do that up at Job Site too. She should have a little bit of a run. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, I can talk certainly.
Okay. Well, that's something we can do. We talked about it yesterday when we were talking to our solo artists that it's great to help develop. It's great to be able to present, but then where do you go? What's the next thing? I mean, we know, all of us guys know that when you write solo, a festival is a great place to introduce yourself. You get to try it in front of an audience. And a lot of people would do the whole festival circuit. They can go to different countries doing festivals, but then you usually only get like maybe 1, maybe 2 shows in that festival. Wouldn't it be great if we could have a connection with other theaters so that, yes, I just did a couple nights here in Sarasota. Wouldn't it be great if I could move up to a theater in Tampa? Oh, great. Now we can cross the state. We are now developing a relationship with North Fort Myers, maybe possible. So we could have this little circuit of solo artists who can, because even if you're a regular theater, it's nice to, especially now because of COVID and coming out of COVID, a solo play is so much more economical to do that you could squeeze one of those in there through a season.
And Jan was demonstrating after doing me and Shirley.
Shirley and me.
Excuse me. It's like,
Shirley and I,
it's
if
like
your grammar's
Jezebel
terrible.
and me, or me and Jezebel.
And I would have
Um,
said Shirley and I, and that would have been wrong.
that other theaters may pick up on that and may start inviting. And I believe, especially with Lee Gundersheimer coming into the Players now, that, and we had a great meeting with the Arts Council and other performing arts groups, actually other arts groups, and they are all willing to start collaborating. We're all already, it was announced last night that we're doing Rhapsody for Golda at the Players in November.
So that's starting. The idea of moving to something else is starting.
Yeah, with Sarasota Jewish Theater as a collaborator also, maybe. This reminds me, and thank you, Roxanne, because it reminds me that we can. There are places to go now, and we can have a collaboration.
I wanted us all to watch a quick little video of one of our students from Booker High School named Katie Cairo. She was a junior a couple of years ago. Well, actually, I got to know her when she was 12 because she came up to work at the Broadway Theater Project when I was up there. And she was just a golden child, loved to learn, was very enthusiastic, was very reliable. And people like that move up in the business very quickly. She's not privileged. She was wonderful. She did a magnificent piece in that festival. And the following year, I said, when she was a senior, do you think you can expand your piece to a full piece? She said, I think I would like to. She was kind of through the solo with us when we were kind of the beginnings of that, completed her piece. And during COVID, she was in our festival in the fall, but it had to be filmed. And this is just a little bit of.
I have to say, she refers to us as flying solo, which, when we used that term before, it's now called O Solo Mio in the junior class in the high school.
And so here is, leaning in while I find Katie. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Katie Cairo, and I am a junior at Booker High School, and I had the privilege of working with Ann Morrison and Blake Walton in the Flying Solo division of SaraSolo. Now, what is Flying Solo? It is a program that helps students write and create their own solo theater. The goal is to create only a snippet of a larger piece that will one day become a full solo play. And what the process looks like is, with my class, we got to pick either being a director, a writer, or a performer, or a combination of the three. And we worked with our directors to write our pieces and eventually perform them. Now, Anne always says that even though it's called solo theater, it truly is a group project. And that is entirely true, because even though you're writing independently, you still need input from your class, and it really just brings you closer with the people around you, being in that vulnerable of a state to share your work. Now, what I learned from this entire process is how to accept my work, because when you're writing all of these different drafts and you're coming out with all of these ideas with your director and your class as a whole, you have to learn how to take constructive criticism and be open to new ideas as well as your own. And the thing with me was I couldn't learn to like my work, and so I was going through all of these different drafts. But finally, when I got down to my final idea and what eventually became my performance, I had to sit back and say, you know what? This is my work, and I love it, and I love myself. And I think that this entire process was just so therapeutic for all of us. I love you. The way you stand. The way your eyes light up when you laugh. How you use excessive hand gestures when you talk. I love the little things. How you grab your chin when you think. I love how you hate when I look at you for too long. I love how you get annoyed when I make you listen to my music, even though I hate it when you do that. I love that I hate you. I love that you practice your smile in the mirror. I love that your hair sticks straight up. I love that you're sometimes so oblivious to my feelings. I love that when you sleep, your mouth hangs open slightly. I love that look on your face when you're caught without your mask on. I love that you try your best. I love that you hate me. I love you. I wrote that for a very special person when we were still dating. We are not dating any longer. How awkward.
Delete. 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 Oh. God. He's just too beautiful in this one. I love you. The way you laugh. How you use excessive hand gestures when you talk. I love the little things. How you grab your chin when you think. How you get annoyed at me when I look at you for too long. How you hate it when I make you listen to my music, even though I hate it when you do that. I love that I hate you. I love that you practice your smile in the mirror. I love that your hair sticks straight up. I love that your mouth hangs open when you sleep. I love that you're sometimes so oblivious to my feelings. I love that you try your best. I love that I love you. I love that I hate you. I love you. God, I wish I could just drive over to his house, barge through the door, and recite all of that to him. But I can't. Because we're no longer together. We dated for a grand total of 7 months. In teenager years, that's a decade of marriage and 3 children. I realize that the description of this play is wrong. This isn't the story of a teenage breakup. This is the liberation of one fucking strong, chubby little half-Jew. I am Katie Cairo. I am a grandfather clock that cannot wait to chime. I feel as if I've sat still for too long. I like screaming to music in my truck with Marcus. I feel things way too deeply. I love knowing that I can change the world. I wonder if time is speeding up or slowing down. I hope to never settle. I am Katie Cairo.
All righty.
Yay.
I love it. I love it. That is just so fantastic. Katie is now in college. She's at the University of...
She's at UCLA.
UCLA. We were just out there and got a chance to see her, and she's doing great. She's just one of those kids who really loves the theater and film and is not sitting around partying at a college. She's out there learning on her own, taking improv classes and film classes outside of the school just because she can't get enough to drink things up, and loved this piece that she wrote enough that she knows that it can continue. I mean, even though Blake so beautifully talk about how people say, oh, teenage love.
Yes. Yeah. It's about teenage love. Who cares about teenage love? And she's so profound, and it's about love. And it's actually about self.
Mm-hmm.
and it demonstrates to us too. I think we can brag and talk about our program because she came out of it with a sense of self and a sense of what she can do to make things happen. She's surrounded by kids who are partying at school and who don't really have the same consciousness that she does about moving forward. We're finding this with several of our graduates, the people who have graduated from the high school, that there is a sense of self-identity that I think comes from, partially comes from our program.
Yeah.
It is one of our impacts, I think.
And confidence.
And confidence.
Right.
There's confidence. And what's cool is we're this year in the fall, we're going to be seeing sophomores who are in our original middle school program. So it's going to be cool to see them growing into that.
Absolutely. Really I know. It's so cool. It's so cool. Alan Brasington's going to join us, but he couldn't get online. So he's getting in a car and driving over here. Yeah, so he could talk about wonderful solo theater.
So what were we talking about?
Well, I think we're talking about, I brought Katie into this because she is one of those who's helped us get the solo moving forward. And the solo, as we said, is geared for adults and professionals. We are all professionals who want to continue, have a germ of an idea, but just need to have their butt kicked. And we're pretty good about kicking your butt, but trying to facilitate and nurture without imposing ourselves on your pieces. I think we're just going to have so much fun going forward. We had 6 people. Angela Bond, as I said before, had finally realized her piece and was in our past festival. And in a couple minutes, when we talk a little bit, I'll put her up, her video up, so we can see a little bit of her development through the process. She is geared up now to, I'm excited now. What's my next step? Where's my next place to go?
So the solo is meant for professionals and adults, and it's really meant to take somebody, like I said before, from seed to stage, and it starts with a workshop that is a group workshop, because we believe that solo creation and solo writing is a very lonely experience, as both of you understand, all of us understand. And so bringing people together in a group setting of about 6 people is a wonderful thing we discovered, because they have things to say to each other. Each of their pieces are very different, but they have something to help with along the way for anybody. Then we meet again, maybe one other time. That's how we worked it out. We started last July, and then had a second meeting with all of them to see what the progress was, and finally, then we start working with the individuals.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be starting the solo this summer for 2 weeks, and probably there will be classes in the evening because people have to work. But we've got already some interesting people who want to take that. I also want to be able to touch base with any of those people again. So there'll be like 2 tiers. There'll be the tiers of people who are, okay, I'm ready. I've got a germ of an idea, just kick my butt. And the second tier were the people that we're already working with, who are a little farther along the line, or even people that says, I think I've got my piece, but I just need you to take a look at this. I need to have an extra eye, maybe help me find a director or anything like that that can move them. So that's kind of what we're planning for the summer, and it'll probably be I will announce that tomorrow. So keep your
I want to ask one question of both of you, Jan and Roxanne.
Do you have another piece?
What's this? This is an obvious question, but what about solo? What is it that that drives either one of you to do solo?
Yes. Oh, Jan.
Well, I'm a tennis player, and I always feel when I'm playing singles, I don't really have to rely on anybody else. That the buck stops with me, and that I am responsible for what I am doing on that court, win or lose. And so I think it's a little bit the same with the solo piece.
Interesting.
That that it is you. If you screw up, you're the one who has to make it right. You're not sitting looking at somebody else on scene and saying, "It's your line. Where are you?" That it is about you. And I don't mean that in aren't I important, but it's just that you're responsible, that the buck stops here. And
Right.
then there's something really wonderful about sharing your story once you've thought about what the story is with others, and watching an audience move into you because they are interested in your story.
Very well said.
Right.
That's
They are your
gorgeous.
the audience is your scene partner.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Roxanne, you had something to say.
Well, I know. I very much come from that same place as Jan does. I'm always been more drawn to the idea that it's the story. It's not the scenic bells and whistles and the fireworks that you may be capable of doing, which are all great. But if you don't have a story to tell, what's the point? And I've always tried really hard to make sure every single one of my solo shows fits in a public shopping bag. If it's too big to fit in a public shopping bag, it's too big. With the exception of Lady Mac. Lady Macbeth has the fire pit, which was built for me, and it was sort of a gift, and they let me keep it after the show. And I was like, yay, it fits in my Prius. We'll take it.
Right.
So it lives, but now where is it? It lives, in a room in my home, because I really haven't gone back and revisited Lady Macbeth.
I want you to. I love that piece. So
I'd love to see it. I've never seen it.
Well, then we'll have her come down here and do it.
You did it. You did a remarkable piece at Urbanite. What was it called?
Apples in Winter.
Right.
Yeah.
That you stepped into. It's a play that's out there in the universe, and there isn't any difference between that kind of performance to me and watching you do that, or watching you do Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because there's the same responsibility, but as Jan says, it's your sole responsibility to tell the entire thing. But what is the difference?
Well, there's really, unless you're telling a particularly personal story, whether you have written it or it's something that you're stepping into, that is sort of an automatic connection. It is making that story personal. I had no context to that woman who was the character in Apples and Winter, but there was something in there that connected to me enough that it became my story. I made it. It became my life and my story.
But doesn't it have to be?
Yes,
I mean, if you cannot connect as the actor to the story, then the audience aren't going to connect either, right?
Exactly.
And there are actors who don't really pull it off.
And it is our job as actors to do that, no matter what the circumstance.
Blame the piece and say, "Oh, I can't connect to that piece."
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's like liking the character, even if you're playing Hitler.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love playing Hitler.
Yeah.
Especially in the producers. That's
and, Lenny Riefenstahl, to me, in her early life, was made some reprehensible choices.
Yes.
So, but she didn't see it that way.
Right. Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly. I want to show a little bit of Angela's piece.
Oh, okay.
Because I can.
There you go.
Because I can. But I have to lean in because I took my glasses off. And I
Yes,
love that
you've
about
got
you.
lovely eyes, Annie. That's all we can see.
Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. And enjoy.
So imagine the first thing you hear is a jet plane taking off. It is 1970 and I'm 11 years old. Daddy is taking his college choir on a 3-week European tour with me, Mama, and my little brother in tow. We have spent months making hoagies and selling Kleenex boxes to raise money for this. We are at Dulles International Airport, boarding the brand new Pan Am Boeing 747 for the inaugural flight from Washington, D.C. to London, England. The newspaper people are there taking pictures and everything. I am all decked out in my mint green polyester dress Mama made me, plus my white patent leather shoes. It is a big deal. After a very long plane ride where I was mad because Mama didn't let me go up the windy stairs to see the lounge, we finally landed at Heathrow. That's the name of the big airport in London. I have never seen so many people in my life. And they all have English accents. Even the black people. Whoa. I was raised in the 1960s in a small North Carolina college town by what you might call these days moderately progressive parents. They taught me that you could grow up to be anything you wanted to be with the right education, male or female. You could be friends with anyone of any color. All people were created equal. That was the God's honest truth. Sort of. I went to church every Sunday. Family night supper was the first Wednesday of every month. Sang in the choir, went to Sunday school, vacation Bible school, and was only slightly afraid to play near the woods of the synagogue next door to our Presbyterian church. I counted among my friends 2 little black girls, Maxine and April, and 2 little Jewish girls, Sandy and Beverly. I always invited them to my birthday sleepovers, even though a few of my white friends were not allowed to come when their parents found out who else was coming. But I always thought we all got along just great. 50 years later, peering through the mists of time to my own little brigadoon, I had started seeing things a little differently. My mama grew up in a tiny little East Tennessee town called Kingston outside of Knoxville. When her daddy died, she was cleaning out his house and found a big old box filled with pages and pages of stories handwritten by his daddy, probably in the 1920s, titled Memoirs of My Boyhood Days. When I read those stories, I laughed and I cringed and I shook my head. Artistic talent apparently runs deep in my family. But it cracked open the door to some truths, good, bad, sometimes ugly, as to who we are. Being Southern ain't what it used to be. At this point, I'm turning, I'm picking up sheets of paper or something, putting it down, or there's a projection that says Memoirs of My Boyhood Days by John Alfred Ferguson, Chapter 1, Into the Wilderness. Oh, that's enough of you. A long, long time ago, perhaps even longer than that, while the country was young, I was born in a small pole cabin in the southern portion of Dyer County, Tennessee. And actually, I think I'm going to change my voice. I was born before my grandma came, and the first time I can remember her seeing her head was white with the frost of many winters. I became Granny's pet, and she thrilled me for hours with stories of her young life in Virginia and the hardships of the trip moving from Virginia to Tennessee. She told me so much about her colored maid, Barbara, her individual property. She told me so much about her best girlfriend, Miss Polly Poindexter, how they would go to big balls and dance for weeks at a time. The male members of the family became filled with desire for adventure and a wilder life and decided to move to Tennessee. After a year in too tame Middle Tennessee, they built a flatboat loaded with their household goods on it and put the women and children on wagons to drive through the roadless and unbroken forest while the boat wended its way down the Tennessee River, across the Ohio, and down the Mississippi, bound for the Forked Deer River, up which they must make their way in some manner which was yet to be discovered. The boat would not float upstream. There was no steam or gasoline engines. There were no driveways along the banks to horsepower pits, so horsepower could be used as was done on canals. So, they felled some timber and constructed a narrow walkway which they attached to each side of the boat and then cut some long poles to push with. 2 teams of 2 men, one on either side of the boat, would alternate going to the front end, placing their poles on the riverbed, and walking to the back, pushing the boat ahead of them. After many days of struggling, they decided to rest. They tied their boat on the riverbank and proceeded to the woods to kill some meat. They had succeeded in killing 1 half-grown buck and 1 gobbler when they heard a rifle fire in the distance. Hush! What was that? Engines? While they listened in breathless silence, expecting to be attacked by a pack of Indians, the rifle cracked again. They were seized with consternation, rapidly trying to think of some plan to hide their boat and themselves until danger was over when the rifle cracked again. Some of the boys struck a trot, but Sturdy John said, "Stop, boys, and listen. If that gunshot we heard wasn't from Bill's Blue Mary, I'm a blue witch." "Well," said George, "if that was Blue Mary that spoke, the Injuns has either killed all our bunch and got all our outfit, or else our folks have beat us to the landing. Suppose you let Long Tom speak and see if Blue Mary answers." Now, Long Tom was the gun that had proved the undoing of the young buck and gobbler aforementioned. So, Long Tom turned loose a hearty bang, and almost instantly, Blue Mary replied, some nearer, and their faithful watchdog stuck his head toward the sky and let out a happy "Arr! Arr!" for he too had recognized the voice of Blue Mary. Then the boys understood. The folks in the wagons had arrived some days earlier than the boat, and those boys had gone down the river firing Blue Mary occasionally so that perchance they might be heard by the boys on the boat. Oh, imagine how those fellas felt. I cut all this. Oh well. But they found each other and threw their guns on the ground and commenced to hugging and babbling like children as they told each other about their trips through the wilderness. Those were my ancestors, the settlers of West Tennessee. Cool. And then I'll sing this song, one verse of it. That's the end of the first part. All right! That was about 10 minutes, I think. And so that'll lead into another personal memory linked to another story from my big sheet of stories. And I'll just do that until I've edit the time.
I love the idea of maybe using multimedia. That would be fun.
Yeah. I just want to be able to not have to have it.
No,
you know what I mean?
you don't have to.
Yeah. The actor taught me that I've got to make a big difference, and I knew this already, but it reinforced it. I've got to find the voice of my great-grandfather.
Okay.
And I've got to really live in that and make that distinct.
Is there any loving gestures in there that might help?
I have to research that. Probably. Yeah. Any tool helps.
Did the actor discover that the writing is a lot more lively than maybe the actor thought it was? I remember you saying, I mean, this is good. I just don't want to like read all of it or.
Across the Blue Ridge Mountains, my home's across the Blue Ridge Mountains, my home's across the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I never expect to see you anymore. How did y'all know about the 3 states of Tennessee? You don't? Well, now, let me tell you about that. There's East Tennessee, whose capital is Knoxville. There's Middle Tennessee, whose capital is Nashville. And then there's West Tennessee, whose capital is Memphis. Now, I bet you also didn't know that East Tennessee never seceded from the Union. Yeah, they fought on the side of the Yankees. Now, of course, thanks to Mr. Lincoln, everything was all patched up after the war. But there still is a little bit of lingering rivalry between the Eastern Hillbillies and the Western Flatlanders. My grandmama, I called her Gigi. Gigi was born and raised in East Tennessee, but my granddaddy was born and raised in West Tennessee. Now, seeing as how Gigi was a hillbilly and granddaddy was a Flatlander, it was no surprise that their union did not last. But that's another story. About 30 years ago, my granddaddy died, and my mama found this envelope. These are stories written by granddaddy's daddy, named John Alfred Ferguson. These are based on his memories of growing up in the early days of Tennessee. Memoirs of My Boyhood Days by John Alfred Ferguson. Chapter 1. Into the Wilderness. A long, long time ago, perhaps even longer than that, I was born in a small pole cabin in the southern portion of Dyer County, Tennessee. When I was still a tadpole, my granny came to live with us. Now, the first time I can remember seeing her, her head was white with the frost of many winters. Granny thrilled me for hours with stories of her young life in Virginia and the hardships of the trip moving to Tennessee. When she was yet a young woman, the male members of the family became filled with desire for adventure and a wilder life than was to be found in Virginia. So they decided to hitch up their wagons and move across the Blue Ridge Mountains to Tennessee. Across the Blue Ridge Mountains, my home's across the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Hot dog.
All right.
All right.
Okay. And we're joined by Alan Bressington, too.
Right here. Right. Hey, Roxanne, I know you have to leave soon, but I want you to tell us a little bit about going to Prague.
I applied and auditioned for the Prague Shakespeare Company, and I'll be going there this summer to study with them and to perform in their season. And I specifically am looking at some really terrific, the instructors were just, I blew my little Shakespeare mind. But there's some of the foremost Shakespearean clowns. and stage combat and a lot of movement sort of thing, which is something that I've been working toward with The Fools and the Clowns and Shakespeare. And the new piece that I'm working on is based in a Kafka short story called A Report to an Academy, which is the story of a Barbary ape who was brought to England on a ship after being poached, and realizing that if he was going to survive in this new place, he was going to have to adopt the persona of a human, of a man.
Oh, excellent.
So it's really this ape trying to embody what he is interpreting as what a man is.
Oh my God, you have to come down here and play with us with that.
I'd love to. I think it'd be
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does that have to be typecast, I wonder?
Well,
It's poached gorilla.
Oh,
Benedict.
Benedict, yes.
He's called an ape. He's called Red Peter the Ape.
Ah.
The orangutan.
Oh, thank you, Roxanne. I understand too that the job site is actually has a fundraising campaign that's separate from us. I should have recognized that because you're outside of Sarasota County. But can people just go to your job site?
Oh yeah,
jobsitetheater.org, correct?
Okay.
Theater.org. Theater is spelled the American way, ER. Jobsitetheater.org.
Theater.
And there's a donate button there. Yeah.
Excellent. Because you're doing great work there.
Getting ready for a brand new season that we just.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah.
And God bless. And I will talk with you very soon.
Excellent.
You got it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye, Roxanne. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh,
Lovely.
I love her.
Where is she?
She's up in she's in St. Pete and Tampa area.
I am going to have to leave soon too, so I'd love to say hi to Alan.
Yes,
Hi.
yes.
Thank you guys for having me on this show. I did donate at midday yesterday on the dot.
Thank you.
Let
us know when you're ready to do another piece.
Oh, I'm always thinking of one. I've got to put my heart.
I know what you can do this summer. You get to come to the solo and we'll kick your butt.
All right.
Yes.
I love
it's all right here. We're
We'll
forming
kick
it now.
your butt.
Probably
right.
Probably in July.
Okay.
I think that's when we're doing it. So
all right. Please let me know. I'd love
Right.
to. I'd
All
love
right.
to. I just need a seed. I just need
Okay.
a seed.
That's all you need. That's all you
Excellent.
need. All
That's
right.
it.
All right, doll.
Nice to see you all.
Okay.
Yay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what do you do? She brings a seed of an idea,
Yes.
and then you
Right.
help her develop it.
Exactly. There we go.
We do some writing exercises and that actually leads to all kinds of things because as we saw what happened with Angela, what she told us about what she was presenting in our living room as the second workshop didn't make it into the play finally.
Yeah.
Because she discovered it was something more about it was a different take.
She connected to her mother. Once
Yes.
she connected to her mother, she knew exactly how to finish writing the story. And then she almost had it done within 2 nights. It was bing, 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 bing. And then the deciding to really, she played the little recorder of what she wanted to do and then realized it by finding a bluegrass band, which formed just for this particular production. Now she knows that if she were to travel around from festival to festival, she could bring the band, but she needed to have that experience of doing it live with a band, and then she can actually have that recorded if she needs to do it in the intimacy of just a chair, and that, you should be able to, as Roxanne was saying, she likes to have everything that she can put in a shopping bag to do solo theater. And some of my favorite solo theater is just a chair.
What Angela didn't talk about is the fact that this is a 30-year idea.
She's been thinking about it for 30 years.
Her great grandfather's memoirs, and they're actually very beautifully written. Strangely beautifully written. Never published, but she found them in the attic in some trunk and thought this is something to do. what was interesting is it's a man in the South at a particular time, and she found a real racist in him, or what we would consider racist. So she really had to look at herself as a girl growing up in the 60s in the South and what that really meant to her too. That's a different show now.
White girl
A white girl
in the South.
Yeah.
Right.
And what her family presented to her too, and what she learned about.
And that's just a smidgen of her show. Her show is delightful and funny, and really gives you a flavor of the kinds of people that at that time in that rural part of Tennessee.
And that other exploration may be another show too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, totally outside of that, but
which is fun, as you know, Alan. When you put together a show, you think you're going one direction, and sometimes something sparks, and your show. Oh, this is interesting. It's going this way instead.
The solo is also not just autobiographical. I mean, there's it was in some terms. Karen Bell, who we'll
definitely see her show.
Who is a clown at with Ringling Brothers.
And teaches circus art.
It has lots of stories about it being a female clown.
Well, I think it was very universal, because I'm looking at the shows and I'm saying, white girl from the Bronx, somebody from Tennessee.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to relate to this at all. And it was fabulous.
Yeah.
It was just fabulous. It just drew you in. And,
exactly.
Universal person.
Well, we all have so many stories in our lives.
I do.
And, it goes off in all directions, and you begin telling your stories to other people, and the ones that they find interesting are the ones you kind of sweep together and think, oh, maybe this would work. And from that comes the seed of the show that you want to do.
And you also write very poetically too. I mean, it's your shows are never like a TED Talk.
And for those who don't know it,
theatrical and poetic.
For those who don't know it, Alan appeared twice in our solo festival, and also every year for 4 years in our intergenerational The Bridge. So we've gotten his perspective on both his own autobiography and also his looking at a teen, 4 different teens actually, and in interpreting them. So I mean, it's you are bringing a real richness to SaraSolo.
Yeah, because your work with the middle school kids is quite profound and wonderful. It just and I think what I'd like to do this coming year is just spend some time with that class, seeing what the adults have done in the past. Because as we've been learning, even with the high school kids, what you put in is what you get, and there are some kids who really put a lot of themselves into it, and really relate to the theatricality of their piece because of their elder. And some kids it's not in their wheelhouse. Maybe it's something they'll discover later about themselves, but they're always wowed by their adults nailing them in some way and understanding that it comes from a place of love and respect. And I think that they always go, oh, wow, whoa, okay, I could have been so much better, Yeah.
Well, you never know, having been an English teacher before I went to the Royal Academy, I know from both sides, from teaching and from being a student, that you can blossom later on, and just by having the experience of seeing other people perform.
Exactly.
I did not perform in high school, and but I always wanted to be Cary Grant. But unfortunately, I didn't make it. But
no, because Cary Grant needed to be Cary Grant.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And he wasn't. Someone said to him once, "I wish I were Cary Grant," and he said, "I wish I were too." It's the same thing. We have a persona which we manufacture, and then we have ourselves standing behind it, and you have to, as an actor or as a person, get as close to standing behind yourself and what you say and what
Well
you
said.
do.
We talk
Well
about
said. That's true.
truth telling, and,
Yeah.
and that's what both of you have brought to, especially to the bridge, but in everything you both do, it's all about the truth.
And that's a
of
good
the
point,
matter.
Alan, because I think a lot of people who are terrified of being bare on the stage by themselves, intimate, it's you have to realize that you are actually creating a heightened you. You are creating a character. It is you, but you're creating that heightened person. So you by being behind them and pushing it through makes it more. What's the word I want?
Well,
doable.
Yeah, and it is the theatricality.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's also what we do.
Mhm.
We don't do
TED
TED Talks.
Talks,
We talk about
right.
that. We do theater.
But something that I do want to say is because I'm directing a couple of plays at the moment, and what I have to keep telling the actors is it's wonderful if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because errors, I don't know if you've ever seen Mrs. Brown's Boys, but they make mistakes all the time, and sometimes purposely, and it's much more exciting. It makes the audience kind of sit up and say, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And you make a mistake, and then you use that mistake, and your performance becomes so much richer.
Right. And that you demonstrate that you're having great joy in the fact that the mistake happened.
Yeah.
You are in on the fun of it all
Mhm.
instead of being mortified.
Right.
That's what the audience is really enjoying.
And it brings humanity to
Yeah.
it too. And as a director, that's a great indication of something. It's very telling. I used to when I realized finally when I was directing at one point that it's those people would come in supposedly off book, and I gave them some blocking, and suddenly they couldn't remember their lines, and I thought, oh, it's not that they don't remember. What is it? Oh, I've given them the wrong blocking. And there's a humanity to that too, but it's a communication that's kind of wonderful too. But I love this idea of there are no mistakes.
No,
in a
there
way.
aren't.
We keep saying you can't make mistakes here. And kids, unfortunately, as they're coming through school, are asked to right or wrong. They're asked to tell us black and white. They're asked to determine
There is
the right
the
answer.
correct answer,
and
which
you see
actually
this all the
cripples a
time.
lot of
It
kids.
does.
I mean, there are what I call the gifted kids.
Certainly does.
You know, they're more focused on getting it right, and they have a hard time in theater.
Well, the biggest mistake I find with people in real life and on the stage is that they begin sitting in the audience at the same time they're performing on the stage.
Right.
And you cannot be in two places
No.
at once. You have to be in one place.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I worked with somebody many years ago who was a handsome young man. And the minute he hit the stage, it was like a muscle went from the side of his mouth, and his face kind of messed up, and he wasn't attractive anymore. And it was that fear. And also there's the fear of someone who gets on the stage and you can't hear them because instead of letting their voice out, they pull it in so that nobody knows they're making a mistake.
Exactly.
I went to a party once, and someone, a Broadway actress whom I will not name, but they said, would you please sing us a song? So she sang it sitting in a chair, which said, if you like it, I was singing, but if you didn't like it, I was just sitting in a chair. So it's fascinating about what happens to people when they're performing in front of others.
Oh, yes. Well, if you want to use an example for the kids, when I was doing Kyle's, I did a little song,
which you all saw earlier.
And I sang one of the lines in the song, and then I sang the same line over again. And then I sang to that tune. Oh, I just sang the same one over again. That last time got more of a laugh.
Oh God, yes,
than the rest of it.
Yes.
Because you realize, okay, I just made a mistake. But keep going.
Mhm.
It was pretty funny.
Well, and I thought it was part of the show.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought that was Kyle making the mistake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
it
So,
gives
yeah,
the
yeah.
audience
Yeah,
a chance
yeah.
to join in
yeah.
to what you're doing
Right.
and brings them right there. It's like, making a fist and saying, we're all here together
Exactly.
at the same moment.
If we're talking about solo theater, because we are pretty much, I learned a great lesson about that same thing with Bill Bowers, who was doing one of his great shows in New York in the United Solo Festival.
And he actually started our festival.
And
Yeah.
he
He's a mime, so he does
did-
physical theater, and it's I'm just filling in everybody else. Physical theater, which is mime, but he also does spoken word.
So
as
it
well.
alternates.
Yeah.
Actually, in one show, he'll do a mime portion of it, but then he'll do a spoken something. And he walked to a coat rack, and he heard music, I think, that was coming, and he said, shouldn't there be something here, or that shouldn't be playing, right?
Yeah, we're not.
And
that's music's too
he
soon.
talked to the stage manager in the back of the house, and the stage manager said, "No, you're in the wrong place."
Yeah.
And he said, "Never question your stage manager." And he started back again,
Yeah.
and we all went with him.
Yeah.
And from then on, I thought, I can do this.
I can do anything.
If I'm
Yeah.
on stage solo,
Mhm.
it's okay.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple instances where I've had
You
to
completely go up. That's an
Yeah.
acting term where you just. Why do they call it going up? It's because you look up in your head for the line. Is that what going up means?
I think so.
Because when you go, everybody looks up into their head to try and find the line. Maybe that's what it comes from.
But it's
be.
human. It's
Yeah.
human. Yeah.
I remember a story about Dame Edith Evans in England being on stage, and the stage manager kept saying a line, and finally, after he had said the line about 10 times, Dame Edith said, "We know the line, dear, but whose is it?" So I think that's, life is what it is. And I'm reminded of, was it Roxanne who was on before?
Yeah, right.
Because my grandmother in upstate New York worked in a laundry. We all worked in the laundry, everybody in my family.
Of course, we all did.
We all
And
worked. Wow, yeah.
the laundry was half black and half white.
Okay.
And when I got to the laundry, Viola Reed would say, "How's your mother? How's your grandma? How is Myrtle?" And I'd say, "She's fine. You should go and visit her." "Yes, I should," she would say. And I'd go home to my grandmother Myrtle, and I'd say, "Viola Reed talked about you today." She said, "Oh, what a lovely woman." And I said, "I told her she should come and visit, and maybe you should go and visit her." "Yes, I should," said my grandmother. But the two of them never went into each other's house for the extent of their lives, because it was something that was not done at the time.
Right.
And now we're experiencing so much more in the world
Right.
by loving all people, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Well,
extraordinary.
well, a lot of us feel that way. There's some people who still fuel their lives through hatred,
Mhm.
that's a shame, because they're
Mhm.
missing out on you're missing out on life when you surround yourself with hatred and intolerance of others.
That's true.
Right.
That is
I think actors, we have to be tolerant, because we have to be able to play so many different characters. I always think that I was blessed to be raised in a theatrical home, not professional actors, but or people in the theater, but on a college level, and so to be able to embrace everybody, because you have to be able to, and a good actor has to love the character that they play. Otherwise, it just becomes bitter and awful. We discovered that when I was doing Forbidden Broadway. Some of the cast members who played Forbidden Broadway ahead of me had gotten kind of bitter, and it really showed. But if you love the people that you're spoofing, then it just enriches the performance. And so at the theater, I think we have to be tolerant,
Yeah.
and care about other people more than any other profession.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can tell you why I got into the theater originally and thought about it in university is I went to see Gypsy on Broadway And Ethel Merman came out and began to sing, and the hair stood up on the back of my head. And it was like this voice went to the walls of the theater and was kind of polished down a little bit. But even though I had seen her at the Academy Awards on TV and all of that, the voice was never the same as when it was live.
Right.
And then I got to work with her on the Tony Awards, and it was a special thing for her. And every time she did her number 3 times, once with the stage manager, once with the choreographer, and that evening with the person that she was doing it with, it was always exactly the same. It never changed. She got all the laughs, and it was just extraordinary.
She knew how to keep the consistency.
And she also knew, she coined the term bird's eye, because she would say, I'm frozen. This is now done.
This is done.
We're not going to
and that
was
this
true
anymore.
on Gypsy.
Right.
In fact, they got to a point where they wanted to keep changing, and she said, "Nope,
Call
we're
me
done."
bird's eye. I am frozen.
And it's 3 days before we start previews or we open, and we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. Helen, you bring up this idea of a voice coming at you, and I think that it's the one thing I'm missing these days, except that because we have sound and we have microphones and we have and it's used in so regularly now that it's assumed, even in smaller theaters in this town.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a performance at Ovation Theater Company, which is actually a theater school.
Children's theater, but with children.
They did Beauty and the Beast, the Broadway Beauty and the Beast.
The entire show.
In a black box theater with kids who were 7 to 18, maybe 18, maybe 17.
Mm-hmm.
And without mics, they had angel mics floating down, which picked up stuff. We didn't always hear everything, but they're being taught to project.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. But there is something about, I'm thinking some of my first experiences seeing professional theater was exactly that. It was the fact that here's this live thing coming at me. And I've heard this before about Ethel Merman, and it's, people say, why didn't she do movies? Why, or why was she such a great star? And part of it was because of that sound.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any incredible actor will bring you the character, the human voice, and that feels human.
Right.
It feels live and human.
I'm at a place sometimes, and I go back to what I said before. We can hear the voice, but whose voice is it? Who's speaking?
Right.
And you don't always know.
Right.
So.
It's crazy. It's so true. Where are we with our donations, Blake?
Okay, because we're kind of finishing up.
We're
here,
finishing up. It's going to be noon soon.
Another 10 minutes.
You have 10 more minutes to donate, and I think that's fantastic.
Oh, good. I just want to say that Patrick Pierce, Michael Foyer,
Patrick Pierce, Michael,
Liz Bergman, thank you,
Bergman.
Liz, and Nancy Rocher. I'm sorry, Rocher, Nancy. Thank you, because she's got a lot of organizations to deal with.
She supports and she supports well.
She's wonderful. And Liz, thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick is a great old friend from Sarasota who now lives in New York. And
from the old theater work days, yeah.
And Michael was in our first festival.
Yeah.
So that's really wonderful.
Doing physical theater.
So we are we're getting close to, well, we're not getting close to our final, but we did really well so far. I think that
so we still have 10 more minutes for you guys to help out.
Could I say one more thing?
Please say one more thing.
Please.
Or you could say 2 more things.
All right. What you do about what is done in the school, education-wise, for these kids is really quite extraordinary, because they write something and then they hear their words done by someone who's older, and it gives them a certain pride that they wouldn't have otherwise, hearing their own words.
Exactly.
And then, of course, when the elder becomes them or plays them, again, they have such joy, and their personalities are allowed to open up, and I think that's really extraordinary.
And they will say that it's quite profound. I love it. Oh, goody! Woo, whoopee! Love that.
Yeah, I thank you, Alan. We can always hear that. I think we have a profound program,
Right.
and I think now that what's cool is, we've said this before, that some of the first year students that we had in the middle school are now sophomores, and they will be juniors in the coming fall. People like Jackson, Carney, and a few others that we hope are going to be part of that. So we're seeing, and we've seen what's happened to Jackson.
Yeah.
He was with Louise that first year, and
which you all got to see at the beginning.
He's blasting away at the high school. Even as a freshman, he was doing some really great work, and as a sophomore also. But so they are graduating to that. Now we're dealing with 4 groups, because we're talking about the middle school kids at 12 and 13. We're talking about the elders who are 50 plus adults, and the high schoolers who are 16, 17, 18, and kind of covering the bases. These are all groups who don't have a voice in the society, and it's it's permeating now.
I would like to scale to a college and let even some master classes and some workshops in some colleges and theater programs. Maybe that's something we could talk about with New College.
It absolutely can. And that's what we hope to do with the Solo too. It's a wonderful generic name that we came up with, but that's exactly what we do.
Back to the kids.
Yeah.
So my experience coming in the classroom the first time, knowing these are theater kids, they're all sitting there like this.
Yes.
And they're very uncomfortable. We have the one-on-ones where we ask questions. Some of them open up, some of them are still like this. And then when you watch them perform, they're like this.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-blowing.
Right. Right.
To see all that was in there, and how this process has helped them.
And I know that initially I was more about the process than the final result. But the final result, if that's what you want to call it, is equally important, and maybe more important than anything, because this is a chance for somebody. A lot of our adults have never done anything like this before. It's your chance to walk a tightrope, and when they all do it together,
right,
there's something magical about that, and I don't think they're ever the same.
Right.
Something else that I think is magical is the fact that England is now doing non-traditional casting, and they're beginning it here a bit. My first year, I played a 12-year-old girl,
right,
and Louise played a 13-year-old boy, and it gives us an opening to 50% at least more people in the world to emulate,
right,
and to learn from,
right, exactly,
rather than the old days of having the girls' entrance into school and the boys' entrance into school, and the two people never met.
Alan has done it from the beginning, and I'm anticipating that you've collected all these wonderful little monologues that you can actually do a full evening.
And then we'll
solo theater
add carols to that.
So then it would be that would be an example of a Monty Polylogue, because he would have complete little monologues with the theme of.
We'll call it the youths.
The youth. No, you can call it whatever you want to, Alan. It'll be great. Well, we're winding up. We've got about about 5 more minutes of our show
And
here.
I just want to announce that we're close to 14,500 now, and which is
So you have
very
5 more
healthy.
minutes to get it up to
That's a
15. That'd be
wonderful-
great.
It's a wonderful combination of that. That's true. That's the matching as well. So that adds to that. That's well within our $20,000 that we had hoped to do. So that's actually going to give us both programs in the fall, and maybe something a little bit more.
Well,
So
it'll help us to start doing the scaling to the next
Exactly.
places, so, which is good. Because there are other schools now. I mean, Blake and I went to see the show at Ovation, and the person sitting in front of us was overhearing our conversation about these programs and said, we've just started a brand new high school. I'm the theater instructor there. I could use your help. So that would be fantastic.
And we've heard from 3 or 4 other schools in the Sarasota area too.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much,
Thank
Carol,
you.
for being here. Thank you, Alan, for coming in, continuing with this. Thank all of you for watching. You've got like 5 more minutes if you can still donate, which is great. But thank you for those who have donated. And if you have a solo play in you, this is where you need to come and talk to. You can go to www.sarasolo.org to find out more about us, about our educational programs. And we are still going. We are just not doing festivals. SaraSolo is quite alive. Don't forget that. I think I'm going to say good night.
okay, it's afternoon. But
I'm going to say good afternoon.
Good noon.
Well, it's evening somewhere in the world.
You're right.
Right. And it's
It
probably
is.
in Thailand. Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.